inviting, Nathan.
Sorry.
I guess that was my cue. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was on mute. I apologize. Thanks for making the movie. If you want to take it away here.
Sure. I am really thrilled to introduce David to everyone, and really delighted that you all are going to have a chance to meet him, having selected your works for recognition. And David and I go way back because I was hired here at the Art Center by his wife, Nancy McIntyre, the former executive director of the Art Center of many, many years, and really brought it to a real point of vitality. And David was a big part of that. So David graduated from Georgia State University and studied English as well as a minor in visual arts. And he was lured by Nancy. They fell in love to come to Dunedin when he had been living in Arizona at the time. And over the course of 20 years, he went from being our publicist and marketing guru at DFAC, and ultimately the curator. And David was here when I started, and he has since, he was director of the Tampa Bay Automobile Museum, and then he also worked at the Greenville Museum of Art in North Carolina, was director of the Beach Art Center in Indian Rocks, and he continues to freelance and consult at this point. So we were honored that he accepted our invitation to be the judge for Mapped Out. And I can say that he spent a lot of time after hours really looking at the work, was very, very thoughtful in his award selections. So welcome, David. We have a little notice in the gallery that tells all about David and the concept of the show, which was using maps as a springboard, as a metaphor, to use mapping as an actual collage element. 2 and 3D works were accepted for this call to entry opportunity. And we also have David's comments on his award selections available in the gallery if you haven't been in lately. And we've had a great response to the show. So David, take it away.
Thank you, Kathy. It was a very nice intro. I was thrilled to be asked to do this. I haven't judged the show in a good while, and it was a great pleasure because everything in the show was great. I'll start off by saying that. It was hard. It's very difficult to make decisions about ranking people's work when the caliber is so high. I think that the greatest appeal for some of the work is that they work so well as art, whether or not you're looking for or seeing the theme. And the differences in the work, in many it was obvious that yes, there was a theme, there's a map theme, a travel theme or whatever. Others, you had to look a little harder, but they were so good it didn't matter. And that was a lot of fun. The works that were completely immersed in the theme were as good as the very abstract works. So congratulations to everybody, and pleasure to take the time to engage with everything as I got to do. I did spend a lot of time, and I think I mentioned in my notes that the ones that really connected were the ones that I couldn't stop looking at. I had to keep turning around and going back. And then eventually I just sat in front of each one, put my thoughts together and say, you know, this is great. So without spending a whole lot of time right now, I think we should have the artist talk. And if I am asked to engage, make comments from there, I'm here to go. So we'll continue from there. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Well, then our first artist to speak will be Diane Rodell, who has won been awarded the Best of Show. Diane, you're an artist from Oldsmar, living in Oldsmar, and just to let everyone know, I've included either a website or an Instagram page or some digital location where you can see more of the artist's work. So Diane, why don't you to tell us about your award-winning piece here?
Well, I was inspired to learn to paint after a primordial moment on the beach, on Melbourne Beach, watching a sea turtle come ashore to nest. And the next day we went out and found her tracks. And this pattern was so beautiful that I thought, I have to document this and I have to learn how to paint in order to do that. So that's what I did. I signed up at Dunedin Fine Art Center, and I got abstract expressionism. Was the only class I could take, and I fell in love with it. Since then, I go to the beach, I take photos of the turtle tracks, and then I abstract them in some way. This is actually a painting of this sea turtle track that I found on June 24th in 2017 at 8 o'clock in the morning. And as you can see here, this little track down the middle, there's a little dots, which on my painting I made yellow, is a green turtle tail drop. So that is, but when I was painting it, I started thinking, I didn't start out with all the black lines. I just started out putting the geometric shapes and a little bit of texture. And it started to remind me of a highway, which was A1A, runs right up through there. And then I got the idea, well, maybe I'll go around all my little areas of texture with a number 2 brush and some black paint to outline them and paint in more of the actual swirls in the sand on the left and fade out to the right. Then I started thinking, well, this looks kind of like of course, that's what's great about abstract. You can see whatever you want to see in them. But then I started thinking, well, that looks kind of like all the development on one side of A1A and just a couple of things on the well, as you're looking at it on the right side, which goes to the beach and fades down to the beach. So it actually became a map of A1A and a map of a specific mother sea turtles track at the same time.
What town was that?
It's in Melbourne Beach on the other coast. It's kind of south of like where the Kennedy Space Center is, south of there. So yeah, so it became a map of 2 different things. So I thought, well, this is perfect for this exhibition.
It also reminds me of a circuit board. I don't know if anybody.
Yeah, I can see that with all the old time telephone wire things.
Oh.
So, yeah, it was, after I started to outline all the texture, I then questioned the wisdom of doing that because it took me forever. It was like I'd go for an hour and I'd get like a square inch all like drawn in, but I liked the effect. So.
And it's gold. And someone bought it.
Yeah. Congratulations, Diane. Yeah, so that's fantastic. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of our members and students for not only being in the show, but for continually supporting everything we do here at the Art Center. Diane, of course, you're one of those people. We have several others with us today. So very exciting. I've seen, touching on some of David's notes here about your work, he was really catching on to the ambiguity of scale, I guess, you know, where this could be a close-up of a turtle track, but it could also be a flyover of, you know, Kansas or something. So
yeah, it definitely has the city feeling on the side, all the development, and then the road down the middle.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Diane. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If I could make a quick comment.
Thank you, David.
Oh yeah, David. Yes, please.
The reference to the sea turtle is wonderful, and I didn't catch that.
Well, no, you wouldn't on this painting. I would be surprised if you did. So.
But by the same token, in looking at this as an abstract, and I love it just as an abstract painting, and very, very successful. But if the idea that this would have occurred to me anyway, without knowing about a theme, that this could be a map, this could be a view from overhead, that there was a natural occurrence dividing two different communities of objects. And
Yes.
so it does both so well. I love it. So
Thank you.
great.
Thank
Good
you so
work.
much.
Excellent. Next, we'll speak with Leslie Jeffrey, who's an artist living in Largo. And Leslie shows a lot around Tampa Bay. And her website here is Leslie Jeffrey Art. Leslie is such a prolific artist. You want to follow her on Instagram too. She's always posting new work, and so very exciting to have her with us. Leslie, are you with us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are. Great.
Okay, very good.
So yeah, we're just having a shot here of your piece in context of the show. And then here it is. Please tell us about your work here.
Well, this one is much more a flyover over Kansas kind of thing. It started out basically as an abstract. I love painting. My realistic work people really like more, but I enjoy this. So I do more of it. Mostly I was thinking about the mark making, scratching. I worked a lot on the surface before there were any roads. A lot of scraping back into wet paint, many subtle, similar colors, overlapping. I love looking out the window of planes and seeing the landscape, but I stayed with these all muted colors. And when it was at the very end, I started laying in some roads. And then people always seem to like it more when there's some center of interest or something they can relate to. So I put in the interchange to kind of give it a focal point. And I thought it worked out very well. It's the first time I've shown it, so I was very pleased.
Yeah, that's a really nice piece, Leslie. And I just want so everyone knows that you work in acrylic. So to get this kind of layering, you kind of have to work quickly, or do you mix mediums in there?
There's a little medium in there, but mostly it's just some of it dries and I go back in, paint again, and some of it dries and go back in, and when it's half dry, do some scraping and pulling away.
It
Kind of building
almost
it
has an encaustic feel, Leslie. People can see in these detail shots this sort of impasto effect, but the surface is alternately matte and has some slight sheen in areas, but really reads a lot like wax almost. So subtle, the palette as well.
David, did you have any thoughts for us on this one?
Oh, lots, but I'll make it brief.
Okay.
This painting is when I did my initial walkthrough, it was one of the first things that I saw, and I thought, wow, I like that. I'll come back to it, which I did. And as I went through and I saw all the interpretations of the theme that people had done and all the works, I kept turning around and looking back at this one. But there are things I need to learn about this painting, or it needs to tell me. And I ended up, this is the first one I pulled the chair up in front of. And, really love seeing it. It has qualities of, again, the surface, I think, is what attracted me the most. Sitting close to it, a photograph can't make the statement that the painting does when you're sitting there looking at it. The surface is magnificent.
Yeah.
And the roadways, if you want to interpret them that way, are just enough to break that up to give it some other substance. And I just love it for what it is. It's great. But I spent a lot of time in the desert, and that was part of the intrigue for me. I've never been in space, but from 40,000 feet, this is kind of what it looks like in some of those places. So I liked it all the way around. It's just wonderful, beautiful.
I thought that it's reminiscent somewhat of cave painting as well, I felt.
Very.
And I can testify that night when David was doing the judging that at the end, it was like I was witnessing a love affair. He got real close and just sat in the presence of your painting, Leslie. It has a mystery to it. It really has that mysterious allure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, I just had a quick question as a judge. How much of a role does, you know, this kind of finished framing play in your selection? You know, does that play a role at all, that there's a finished frame on it, or are you looking pretty much at the imagery and that's it?
I'm not looking for that. It doesn't hurt, and I love the way this is presented. But if it had been just a wrapped canvas, it wouldn't have made any difference. It would have made the same impression on me.
Okay.
If I see a work that is poorly presented, that could make a dent. But you don't have to have a lavish frame if you know how to finish the work.
I really appreciate that question and your response, David, because
it's a good question.
Yes, it's really useful for the artists.
That might not be the case with everybody.
Right.
No.
If you're in the marketplace, and you really need to be concerned with that. But for me, fully wrapped canvas, I've had many of them in my house, and they don't need a frame. But what you've done here with that frame is beautiful. So
yes,
great work.
Very elegant, and it's heavy too, Leslie. And you know, we in the larger gallery shot, there's more a sense of the scale, but it's a large painting. Yeah, it really has presence.
Yeah, the canvas itself is 3 by 4 feet, and then you've got 4 inches on either side of frame. So yeah, it's a sizable piece. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Leslie.
Thank you so much.
Next, we'll hear from Casey Kavanaugh, artist living here in Clearwater. She's got a pretty cool Instagram page. You check that out. Casey, are you with us?
I am. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. You've got 3 pieces in the show. Today, we're going to focus on your award-winning piece. Here's the 2 that we're not going to talk about here and here. And as Catherine mentioned, all 3 of your pieces have sold. So if you want to see Casey's work in person, you better run on in. We're going to talk about this piece here, this blue piece called Track and Discover. I think we'll let you share about your work, Casey, how you make it, and what you're touching on here.
Okay, so if you're a sci-fi fan and you understand Star Trek, then you know one of the new releases is Star Trek Discovery. And the show is on CBS, and it is fabulous. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I love everything sci-fi. I even wore my Star Trek shirt today, just so for those of you who don't know. But I do love all sci-fi. I actually wanted to be an astronaut. So when I was 9, I said, hey, Mom, Dad, put me in space camp. And then after that, I'm going to have to go to military school because I'm going to be a shuttle pilot, okay? And they said, no.
Oh.
I know. So I long for the day to be within the stars. And so I like working in the female form, and I acquired a bunch of different molds. And with this particular one, I casted it with spray foam, learned a lot about that, wear gloves. And I needed to, and you'll see this on Instagram, a lot of, I wanted to do something, a throwback to old Star Trek. And so I needed to enhance certain areas of that particular figure. The old style pinup, I really was really going for that form, because in the original Star Trek, the women were beautiful and they're very voluptuous. And so I said, okay, I do everything in female form, and I wanted to do an homage to the female uniform in Star Trek Discovery. So me and my 3D printer, my resin printer, and some stellar cartography maps, put it all together, and this is what you got, with a little bit of sparkle.
And now,
How does a resin printer differ from a 3D printer?
A resin printer uses liquid resin that you pour into it, and it goes through a very interesting molding process. I wish I could videotape it for you to see. I'm sure that somewhere you can see that, but it's encased, and when it comes out, it has support structures after it's slowly pouring and hardening. And then it has to go through a final hardening process afterwards. And usually the resin printer, you can get smaller pieces with more detail. And with the 3D printer, you're using a filament on a roll, kind of like a spool of thread, if you will. And that goes through an extruder and it heats up. And again, it will print and it gets solid as it's cooling and forms. However, it can print bigger with detail. So the difference between resin and the 3D printer is going to be scale. So smaller and bigger, and then getting that detail on the smaller one. The 3D printer is not that super great. You can fine tune and get it as detailed as you can, but it does have limitations. So it's nice having both to work with.
So when you're casting the resin, do you add the coloring after, or?
You can actually use color resin, or they have clear resin. 2 seconds, I'll show you real fast. So this is a resin print, and it has more translucent values to it. I know if you're a sci-fi fan, then you'll recognize this as a power crystal from Stargate Atlantis. I'm such a fan, let me tell you. Whereas you can also get them in solid colors as well. And I tend to print everything in gray because it lends itself for painting, whether it's going to be lighter colors or darker colors. Gray is perfect to work in both of those colors to add on. But I like to paint everything.
I loved the fashion elements with the zipper and the...
Thanks. My husband freaked out. He goes, "Did you take one of my shirts and cut it up?" I said, "Not today."
Oh,
I know. I've been known. I will. But I've had a lot of fun, and I want to say thank you for the opportunity, because I've been in one other art show in St. Pete, and it's my Dunedin family. You are just so warm and welcoming that I finally felt the courage to put my art out there for others to see and not be so, reserved about what the judgment would be. And I thank you, David. Even though I don't have your comments yet, I will get them when I go to the Art Center later for sure, for taking the time to adjudicate all of this. And I look forward to hearing everything you have to say about my work, because I'm always looking to improve. We all can improve in many, many ways, and I appreciate that. So well, thank you, family.
If
thank
David, if David would like to share a little bit right now, we could do that.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thanks. I'm going to write it down.
I'll send you the judges.
Okay, perfect.
I thought I sent that to everybody, but go ahead, David.
Yeah, the copy is probably going to be better than what I'm going to come up with right now. But I'll start off by telling a story. Many years ago, Nancy and I decided to go to Key West, and we piled into my Suzuki Samurai and jammed it full of stuff and put 2 bicycles on the back. Spent our first night in Naples, found out that Star Trek, The Next Generation, was debuting on TV,
and we had a great vacation in Naples. We never left.
Wow.
Every day we were there. So yes, I'm a geek, and there's something very magical about what you do with these figures. This one in particular, yes, I like the space theme, but I also like the fact that it was handmade. It was a little, I don't want to say rougher, just different around the edges than the others. It didn't have that feeling of having been bought and painted. And then the theme was just fantastic, and it sort of, it brings us into distant, unknown places. You use color extremely well to do that. It's deep, it's cold, yet it's inviting because there's so much out there. And that's the whole idea about Star Trek and a lot of other things. I just thought it was incredibly engaging if you love that kind of adventure and that kind of mystery. So congratulations.
Well, thanks. I hope that we all go on a space adventure together sometime soon.
Yes.
I'm glad we have something other than the shuttle now.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you. Oh my. Sounds like, David, you and I can talk in later times.
That'd be great.
Go back to that one, the longer shot, if you could, Nathan. I just all of a sudden, no, well, both of those, look at the shadow on that. And no, the other one. There.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Well,
Talking about the form and building the, yeah. Congratulations.
well, thank you. I enjoy. I tried to capture everything Star Trek Discovery, and I look forward to future events. And congratulations, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
Such a great community.
I do want to say that Casey is a teacher in an arts education teacher, and she teaches in our summer art academy, and she's really beloved.
Oh, thanks.
We get to see her every summer, but during the yeah.
Thanks. Those are my children. I don't have kids, so I get to borrow them. So if you're sending your children, thank you. They're a blessing. We love them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Casey. Thanks, David, again. Our next artist who's been awarded third place is Bonnie Hendricks. Bonnie's not with us today. She also does not have any digital presence, so we'll be speaking specifically about this piece. She did share some thoughts about the piece that we can share with you. Here's her work here. So the inspiration for her assemblage came from Mark Twain's travelogue, Innocents Abroad. She had a book of sheet music and a sketch of the Old Mermaid's Inn from the 1800s, an old hymn book, and 2 photographs purchased in an antique store in San Antonio, Texas. She used these items along with the old map of England to weave an adventure for Ava, or Eva? Ava. Eva. Bonnie is an amateur artist with no studio or website. She has been taking classes here, though, for 10 years. Her first class was with Tony Hutfield. Is that right?
Hutfield.
Hutfield's, who teaches assemblage. And Bonnie has learned a lot about composition from Tony. She's also taken classes with Melissa Miller-Neese, who is one of our most cherished instructors, who excels at colored pencils. Just absolutely wonderful. So a really great teacher for color theory and balance. Melissa also encouraged Bonnie to enter the mapped out exhibit, which is something that all of our instructors do, and which they should be doing right now, because guess what? Our next student member faculty show is coming up quickly in April. So we're looking forward to seeing everyone's work again this year. It's one of our favorite shows. David, did you have some thoughts that you wanted to share about Bonnie's work here?
Sure. It's first of all, it's a wonderful change, or it makes a statement about everything art can be. We've seen abstraction and a variety of terms we could throw around. This is found objects. And I was a little bit hesitant about giving it high consideration because, well, most of it's found objects, but at the same time, what's wrong with that? And the more I looked at it, the more I saw how ingenious it was. Very intriguing. And it drew me in, and I wanted to be on that trip, that voyage that they made. With Father. Yes, Journeys with Father. Everything about it was nice. There's a lot of variation. There's handmade things, handwritten things, but the way the composition was laid out was absolutely wonderful. So it was a real winner.
Yeah, I enjoyed I think you're right. The more you look at this, the more interesting it becomes, especially knowing that a lot of the materials that she used are not actually hers. They're, she bought them somewhere else. And so, but she's telling this sort of imaginary story with these images and maps and like the first presumption is because of the title Travels with Father, that these are somehow her family or something, and that she knows these people and that this is an actual trip that, she took or someone in her family took. So yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
I'd also like to say that I applaud Bonnie for since this is her first show, I think, that she's submitted to, that takes a lot of courage, and it's an exquisite piece, so thoughtful and beautifully crafted. And I applaud her for taking that step out, that risk. And I hope we see more of her work going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, Bonnie, we wish you were with us. And hopefully Bonnie will be able to watch this recording. By the way, we're recording this reception and it will be on our YouTube channel in the future. So we'll let you all know when that happens. Our next artist is Sue Beach, who has been awarded one of 2 honorable mentions. Sue lives in Spring Hill, which is kind of a drive from here. But she's so dedicated to her classes here. We see her a couple times a week, I think. And to learn more about Sue, you can go to suebeachart.com. Welcome, Sue. I can hear you.
Thank you, Nathan.
And why don't you tell us a little bit more about your piece, Heaven on Earth?
Sure. Well, I'm a little background about me. I'm a retired art teacher from Buffalo, New York. And I believe Nathan is also from that area. I always enjoyed teaching. I also raised 3 sons. So my life was very, very hectic and busy. There wasn't a lot of time for me to explore my own voice and do a lot of my own work and have a journey artistically. So my husband and I retired in our mid-50s, and we had the opportunity to move down to the Gulf Coast, of Florida. And just coming here, especially in the wintertime, is such a wonderful experience. And to be able to live here and have that opportunity to see the beautiful sunsets and be in the water, especially during the wintertime, to me is like heaven on earth. The water has always had such a medicinal and soothing and calming quality to me. And it's a bit like finding the fountain of youth or a sense of new life, being able to be in Florida. In terms of the actual composition, I love a lot of contrast in my work, so I love putting complementary colors together. So I often use oranges against blues in my work, or yellows and purples and reds and greens. So that contrast of complementary colors was very exciting to me. And the figures kind of walking towards the sun to me, it's like the sun is just so welcoming and pulling us in somewhat. So that was my idea for the name of the painting, which was Heaven on Earth. I also love the breathtaking beauty of the sunsets here. I think because we're at sea level, the skies, different than in Western New York, seem so much bigger to me and so much taller. And the sunsets really are a work of art in their own right. In terms of the underpainting, which is a map, I actually went back to the store and got a couple more of these maps because I just thought it was such a fun idea that I think I'm going to do a series of them. I wish I could say I was clever and that was my intent all along, but actually I was in a store, an art store, buying some liquid acrylic paints to do this work of art. And coming up the last row, I saw some specialty papers. And one on the rack was the world of hemispheres. And I thought, boy, that would be a terrific underpainting for the theme mapped out. I knew that I wanted to put the images of the pier in Clearwater, as well as the sunbathers. I take a lot of photographs to inspire me for my work, and knew that I wanted to do something to do with the water and the sunsets, and being able to have the opportunity to spend my winters here and my life here right now. And so that was my idea for the painting. And so I experimented with acrylic paint, and would you believe this is only my second acrylic painting ever? So I had fun experimenting with the juxtaposition of the warm and the cool colors. And then I painted on the specialty paper, and then I adhered it to a panel, and really had a lot of fun painting the sides. To me, it looks like a canvas, not so much a panel with the acrylic paint on it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And up close, the paper has a little bit of a texture, if you could see it here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that was actually something I was wondering about. Is I'm glad you said that it's on paper, which is then mounted to a panel.
It's beautifully, the craftsmanship is beautiful. All those elements melded together. You did a beautiful job, Sue.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. And if I could just say too, thank you to Catherine and Nathan for the opportunity to be in the show, and a special thank you to David for choosing my work. That meant a lot. And I'm kind of on my journey of being an artist and showing and selling my work. So that was a wonderful thrill to be pegged to get an award. And the Dunedin Fine Art Center has just been such a welcome experience in my life. It's very holistic in that you can go to the center to imagine and plan works of art and create them. And then they even give you an opportunity to show your work and hopefully sell your work. So it's just such a terrific organization, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks for making the hour drive.
It's well worth it. It's well worth it.
Yeah.
I think that I just want to put this out there because Sue and Mary Ellen Caesar, your neighbor and friend, who I think is here on this Zoom,
Yes.
that a piece was done, a video interview with Sue and Mary Ellen. Both of you, we are so grateful for your participation and all of our special events and special exhibitions, and get you coming to classes. But Heather, our former content developer here at DFAC, did a great video interview with Sue and Mary Ellen, and I feel like that's viewable somewhere, maybe on our YouTube, Nathan, or on our social media. I think there's a way to trace that back because it's a wonderful interview.
Thank you. Thank you. And really kudos to everyone at the museum, because even during the pandemic, it has still been a very safe and welcoming place to come and be with like-minded artists and create things. And, during the pandemic, especially, I think it's been so important for us to have a sense of community still and to have a sense of connectedness. And you inspire us with your challenges. They're so thought-provoking. And we come up with things we might not have come up with had you not given us these challenges. And thank you for remaining open and giving us the opportunity to be together.
Our privilege, and it's our joy, definitely.
Mm-hmm. David, do you have any thoughts to share on Sue's piece?
Sure. You have a very bold palette, and you're successful with it, and that's not always easy. When I first looked at it, I thought, wow, there's a lot happening there. And the more I looked, the more I liked, and the more I realized, whoever painted this made all these colors work together. It's like, wow. But the addition of the drawing, the hemispheres over it, is what kicks in another level of magic for me. We've all been that person, those people who are in the water there, in the shallow water, watching the sunset, standing there in that situation, or swimming, and in that salt water, my imagination would start going out, and I would start thinking about other places. I would start thinking about things that I wanted to do, sailing that I wanted to do, whatever it was. But it was always a magical place for me, and I think it is for almost everybody who would go there. And to juxtapose that or lay that over is so clever, and it does something to the composition. It just really makes it pop. And I was fascinated with it. Really loved the piece. How did you get that map on there?
I have a lot of different products that I was in Anita Wood's classes, and she has taught us to take our watercolor paintings and adhere them to panels. We've just been talking a lot about the presentation of our work, and when we show it or sell it, how would it look the best in a gallery. And she was showing us that some of her paintings, rather than putting them under glass with a mat and a frame, if you mount them on a panel, then it's a different situation in that it almost reads like an acrylic or an oil painting. And after you put an adhesive gel, you can get a matte medium, a heavy or a light medium to adhere. You put on both sides. So underneath the world map, I put an adhesive, and then also on the panel itself. And then I situated the map with the painting on it on top of the panel. I used a rolling pin to make sure I got all the bubbles out. And then I put tracing paper on top of that, set it on the floor, and for 24 hours put very heavy books on it so that I don't think it's ever coming off. And then if it was just a true watercolor painting, I would put 3 coats of Dorland's wax on it. But because watercolor doesn't usually sleep, but with acrylic paint, it's a lot more permanent. So I didn't need to put the Dorland's wax on it.
Well, the result is fabulous to me. I just love it. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you, David.
I'm also glad to hear you and others in this talk about the welcoming or embracing nature of the art center. That was important to me and Nancy when we were there a long time ago. And
so true, so true.
The staff and volunteers are doing a great job. So carry on. I'm glad you're a part of it.
Thank you. So am I.
Thanks a lot, Sue, for sharing all that about your work. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Next, we'll speak to Glenn Carlin, who's our second honorable mention awardee. Glenn, you've got a Facebook page, and I put your Instagram page on here because it's a real nice, concise presentation of the portraiture that you do.
Thank you.
And your piece is over right here at the entryway of the gallery. It's a smaller piece, but quite probing, I would say. I love the expression of this young woman, and you painted it on a map, so maybe a little bit similar to Sue. Can you tell us some more about this piece?
Yes. Can you hear me clearly now?
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah.
I'm kind of new to this, so yes, the start of this, I was a little late to the party, and I was waiting in between painting, and I'm in painting in oils, and my paint wasn't dry, so I saw the show was going to be happening in 5 days, and I said, well, let me see what this takes a look at this. And so I started messing around, and I love maps, and I thought, wow, maps, I love them. And I had this old topographical map from Sedona, which I love Sedona so much. And I started out with that concept of a map. And of course, I wanted to keep pursuing my portrait work. And so I combined the two in my mind. I said, okay, how am I going to do that? And I had to work kind of small, and I was kind of concerned about the paint not being dry enough by the time I entered into the show. So I only had a couple of days, 2 days to do it. So
Well done.
Yeah, no, it turned out great.
yeah, so it was really wonderful that you had this concept, because I really needed it, and it was just a really cool thing to happen for me. So when I took the map and I scanned it, and I printed it out, so I kept it kind of small, and then I started working. I mounted it on a masonite board, a prime masonite board, and then I started working the portrait over it. What I didn't realize was how wonderful I was using like a more of a earth colors, and I used a lot of ochres, and I used a lot of transparencies, and it worked. I was just surprised. I thought, wow, this map, I was thought that the portrait was going to be more solid. And then when I started looking transparent, I said, wow, this is kind of cool. And so I kept working the idea of a transparency with the mapping, and I really enjoyed it. And the paint dried, I think, an hour before I took it into the show. So
we love that when it has that fresh scent, sort of a sense around experience when artworks come in.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be maybe, if you wanted it to, a new pathway for you, a new.
It has, Nathan, is wonderful, because I started thinking, wow, the possibilities of relating, because the portrait is of the woman who the town of Sedona was named for, Sedona. So it was like there was a complement between who the painting was in the image and the map. And so I started thinking of all the different possibilities with different things, and not just maps, but I had the concept of repurposing some of these old paintings, where you have an old painting and you can paint over top of it with transparency and kind of get these dichotomy between things going on. So I think it's a wonderful opening. You guys opened my brain up a little bit here on this thing.
Could you tell us, Glenn, do you know much anymore about this woman, Sedona? I didn't know that Sedona was named after a specific.
Well, I spent quite a few times in Sedona, and there's a rustic area there where they had pioneered it. And the pioneers there were, they found this magical place, and they just started camping there, basically. They had their old homestead. I actually visited their homestead, and it was kind of broken down, and it had a little water wheel. It was beautiful. And there was a little bit of a story about it, and the story went that the city was named after the man's, the husband, the wife of the husband that founded the place. Her name was Sedona. So that's how the name originated. So
and where did you find this picture of hers?
Well, it's not a picture of her. I hope to make that clear. There's no picture of her. So I took sort of an imaginative idea, and I like the idea of her looking back at the viewer. I wanted this sort of the strong personality look, and with sort of like a defiant, strong, original, pioneering American woman type, or get it done type thing. And they were strong people back then, so that was how I kind of created the image from a more than just one model, one more idea. So it was
Really
it's hard to,
effective.
Yeah, that's great.
This is
hard
one
to
of
explain
my-
how I came about with it all, but it was so much fun. I enjoyed it.
This is one of my favorite pieces in the show, I will confess. I forget at what point it came in, but it just was so powerful to me. And it definitely lends itself to creating to the viewer, creating a story for it. And I think that happened with David, as I remember that night when he was looking at everything. You want to share your thoughts, David?
Sure. Yeah, it was very captivating, and it's interesting to hear your story behind it, including technique. Congratulations on your experimentation. It looks like it's going well. But the more I looked, the more I liked. I didn't know if she was Native American or not, but I could see the map, and I love the way that the transparency worked. And I see her defiance. And so it's been fun to hear your story, because you answered a lot of my questions. But I wondered who she was and why is she giving me that tough look. But yeah, very, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Well, we're lucky to have it. Yeah, I love this piece too. Just to let you know a little bit more about the curatorial process, we have two other shows in our main galleries. Well, and then we have Rachel Simmons upstairs. And a lot of these shows do have to do with journey or use of the land, or our relationship to the land, or our relationship to traveling through space and time. So I think this one really connects to the Alex Torres and Bruce Marsh show, the relationship between the human figure and landscape. So
Quite interesting. I studied under Bruce Marsh a little bit back in the day.
Oh, wow.
And,
Okay.
And
Great.
I was at a couple shows with him in the 70s.
Oh my
It's
God.
a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, those are our award winners. So congratulations, everyone. Thanks for telling us more about your work. Thank you, David, for sharing your thoughts, and again for judging the show. There's a little close up. Yeah, you can even see the elevation markers here.
Well,
we have a lot of ways to engage with the exhibits here at the Art Center. Obviously, you can come in. We're open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday. Of course, to wear your masks, and we take temps at the door. And as Sue Beach mentioned, and several others, how the lengths that we've gone to remain safe and welcoming for everyone. We also have a program called Enriched Curator Tours. These are something for groups between 5 and 8. And what we try to do here is walk through all the exhibitions and invite a select number of artists to either be present in person or to join us via Zoom, who will be able to engage directly with the people on the tour. So if you have a group of people between 5 and 8, we'd love to talk about how we can host your group. It's fairly engaging and fairly personal, so it's a really fun time. And then I just wanted to remind everyone about the student member faculty show coming up. Forms are on the website, as well as you can grab them in person here at the Art Center. If my memory serves me correctly, which it usually doesn't, but we'll give it a whirl here. The entries are due March 22nd through the 24th. We'll be taking all pieces in, and the exhibition opens April 16th. So
Yes, and then I'm just going to throw in there that our call to entry in the fall, which we'll get up on the website so people can start thinking about it, is spirit animals.
yeah,
That's going to
Yeah.
be fun.
so get your paintbrushes ready.
But I also want to acknowledge our other artists who were here in the event, the Zoom event. Our other mapped out artists, Dakota, Ubaldo, Rachel, Isabel, Lisbeth. Thank you all for joining us today. Did I leave anybody else out? Yeah. We love.
If any of you who are here with us would like to talk about your piece, we have them all here. So go ahead and
Unmute.
shout out me, or I think there's a way to raise your hand or something like that. So does anyone want to share about their piece?
I will, if you don't mind.
Oh, Diane, sorry, we did not include your other piece.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to talk about, my other one. That's okay.
No, because, yep. Anyone else?
And then Sue had a second one as well.
That's right.
And,
Yeah, for the award winners, we just let you speak about the award-winning piece.
And then, and Nathan, you have a piece in there.
Okay.
I didn't see or had it first. It was completely hidden. Well,
Yeah,
it
this
was
is
completely hidden, but I didn't see it at first.
in addition to being an employee, I'm also a member, and I also have I teach class here. Diane Riddell happens to be in my class this session. We're having a really good time, aren't we, Diane? Trying new things and working outside our box, and I think we're learning a lot. This piece is from the very early days of when I started actually making art again here in Florida. So Sue, to your point about moving to Florida and kind of, it being medicinal in a way, I had abandoned the kind of body of work that I was doing in college and decided that I needed to go into my studio and just start painting something. And I didn't know what it was going to be. And I knew that I only had an hour or two at a time because I was staying at home with our infant daughter. And so I just had to go out there and do something. And this is the kind of stuff that I started doing, was these intertwining pathways. And so that's where this piece connects to the idea of mapping. If you could map all of your thoughts and experiences of a day at the beach, for me, this is kind of what it looks like, a kind of a jumbled, fractured mess. But I included down here the silhouette or the outline of a manatee and a dolphin for myself. So, for those of you who know the work that I do now, my abstract body of work, what I took from this piece was this gesture. I was really interested in the hand that we put to the universe, the gesture that we put out there into life, and into other people's lives, and the interaction between myself and others. So that's a little bit about this one.
Dakota, did you want to say something?
I'll talk about my work.
Oh, good, Rachel.
Rachel, okay. Let me get to you here.
Okay. Yes, I was very excited about hearing about this show. I had a great interest in the live oak trees that are here in Florida. And the pattern on the live oak trees so much reminded me of travel. And the markings, which are kind of short little markings, also reminded me of mapping, and how they really correspond with maps. So I found, or somebody had given me these maps of the sea, they're boat charts. And they were really fascinating to me because having lived, all right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I guess I muted myself. And having lived on an island, I was very caught up with the ocean. And so these maps, which are boat charts, and relating them in the background and putting the live oak trees on top, kind of connected and joined these two journeys that I have experienced in my life. So when I heard about this, I was thrilled because I had done this totally on my own last year and was in the point of getting it framed when Catherine was so gracious to let me into the show at kind of a late date. And, I was just happy to participate. So it's a combination of making markings of your journeys through the years. And that's what I did with it. So it's actually done in Sharpies, which I don't usually use. And it was kind of a fun exploration of how the markings related to maps. So that is what I did. And thank you very much for letting me in it.
Very nice.
Rachel, where could people see more of your work? Do you have a website or Instagram or Facebook?
Yes, I do have a website. It's www.rachelstewartstudio.com.
Great.
And
Thank you so
Rachel
much.
has a piece in the flag show right now.
Yes, I have another piece, a print, in the flag show, which is going on at the Dunedin Fine
That's
Art.
right. That's right. And we're going to be having a closing reception for the flag exhibition next Friday, the 26th. So everybody be on the lookout for that presentation. Elizabeth Graham, you
Hi.
raised your hand.
Yeah.
Can
I
you-
don't know if you can see me. I'm trying to do this on my iPhone.
We
Let's
can't-
see if I can.
We
Can you see?
you, but we can hear you.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
well that's enough.
Let's talk
Well,
about your piece.
I wanted to thank you guys for everything you do at DFAC. You know how important it is to me. I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it's great. This is an interesting format, and I'm learning a lot about everyone and their techniques and their, heartfelt feelings they're putting into their work. And it's really great, sort of reaffirming why I'm an artist. But to talk about the piece for a minute, because I think sometimes with three-dimensional work, it's a little tough to really get it all on a flat when you're looking at it, even though it is a wall piece. It's basically raku ceramic in the shape of Africa, as much as I could render it that way. Just a minute about the glazing is red is an extremely hard color to retain when you're firing in raku. It's got matte and gloss glazes. And in this case, there's a lot of greens, a lot of browns, and I put some of the red in for heat. It's combined with copper that I treated with heat just to get it to rainbow a little bit, and then mounted further on steel. And I've also included, which is found art, but came to me at the time when I lived in the Southwest, just like our other gentleman, forget his first name, sorry. Anyway, I've included the African trade beads, and really my motivation was that Africa has been through such torture forever, and is such a fantastic country with the resources and people trying to bootstrap themselves up, and, you know, just kind of a shout out to with the African trade beads as to the culture and, you know, the way that people do trading there. And, you know, for the mapped out, I think that was something that was resonating, because after a while, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but, you know, I kind of get a little sunsetted out. So I see them as not as much as I used to when I lived right on the water, but someplace where I've actually meant to go, and my trip was canceled long ago due to issues of closings at borders and all of that. And I support all the creatures down there. So I wanted to do something more mysterious, like the Dark Continent, and, you know, just honor the pain that people have felt there. That's it.
This is another one of my favorite pieces. I just thought it was so successful, and I love the textures and the topographical with the combining of the materials. I thought it was a super powerful piece, and congratulations.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you. I'm glad I got emotion.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Is there anyone else who'd like to share?
Dakota.
Yes. Hello.
Dakota? Okay. All right.
My piece is pretty literal, but I couldn't help think about it because most of you some of you know that I did a lot of traveling with my partner that passed away a bit ago, 3 years ago. So I couldn't help but automatically think of the first trip that we took overseas to Italy. That's where Joseph's mother was born. And so it wasn't this emotional making the piece. It was pretty joyful. But we were gone for 16 days, and I shot an average of 1,000 pictures a day. So quite a few to go through.
Yeah.
But the street photography, which is one of my favorite things to do, is so enjoyable there because there's so many tourists and so many people taking pictures that people just ignore it. You could be shooting somebody and no one's ever even paying attention to you, which is just nothing like the States. So I captured some of my favorite views. We traveled from Venice down to Pompeii and made sure we stayed in different areas and took side trips, but enough to really get the feel of the country, considering that we got up early, little sleep, and stayed moving all day long. So it looks, I've never done a collage work or anything like this, so it was a struggle to get through it. But I'm glad I did.
Very effective. I like the way that you put it together and the torn edges, and it almost has an architectural feel in the way that you composited the images. And I like seeing you right in the middle of it, the paper doll.
I was
Beautiful.
happy, yes, definitely.
Here she is.
You look so joyful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dakota.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to share? We have several more pieces here.
What about Ubaldo? I saw
Yeah,
that. Ubaldo.
Ubaldo, are you still here with us?
This was exciting to have these works submitted by Ubaldo. It was the first time I had seen his work. And I really loved how they fit with this theme. It was such a departure and
Yes.
unique.
There you
There
are.
he is. There.
We hear you. Yep.
Gorgeous.
You can hear me?
Yes. Welcome. Tell us about your pieces.
Well, I'm always doing watercolors. And when I was first invited to present my work, I thought, why not do something that always is on my mind, because I live next door to a golf course. And sometimes when I start painting, I do it with not a specific idea, and the result is letting me know what should I use or to continue with my paintings. And these areas of green combined with the colorfuls and the shapes of the golf balls made me do the next step. And the reaction sometimes from the painting and the paper, it is letting me know where to go. And I try to do always something that is attractive to the person that is looking at the painting. And the result, many people likes it, and everybody sees different things in abstract paintings, and that's so exciting and enjoying. That's what I think. And thank you so much for letting me participate.
We thank you. Yeah, and I hope to see more of your work going forward.
Beautiful color combinations.
Yeah, thank you, Ubaldo. Ubaldo, do you have your work online? Do you have a website or anything that people can see more?
Well, usually I put only on Facebook, but as soon as I have a website, I will let you know.
Okay. Elizabeth, I'm sorry, I missed that question with you and Dakota as well.
Yes, it's, I was trying to put leashes on dogs. Firebrand, all one word, -studios.com. And I texted it in the chat.
I see it here. Yeah. Okay. Firebrand-studios.com.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you, Nathan.
And
Thanks for
Dakota,
asking.
you have a website as well?
Yes. iartdakota.com.
iartdakota.com. Okay. Wonderful. Are there any other artists that would like to share about their work?
Could I just say something real quickly, Nathan?
Sure.
I find the Dunedin Fine Art Center to be a work of art all in its own right. I'm just so fascinated by how the exhibits are arranged, and all of you on your staff have such a working knowledge of the elements and principles of design. There's so much thought that goes into how you create and compose and organize groupings of things. Sometimes the walls magically change to different colors. And there's such an anticipation for me when I know something's coming and the paper's up on the windows, it's like a Christmas Eve kind of excitement. And the doors are open and the paper's down, and then it's for me like Christmas morning. And I just get so excited to see what you have created. It's like a working, breathing work of art in its own right. And I just thank you for inspiring us in the way that you compose your exhibits.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much that means.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. It's yeah, we work really hard on
it shows
all of it. Yeah, and to a lot of what we do takes a lot of planning, but then I think the fun part of our job is sometimes we do things because we want to.
Yeah.
We are given a lot of freedom, I must say, and I couldn't have a better ally than Nathan. And I always forget until after the end of the Zoom to say, but Nathan, I meant to say, but none of this would happen if it wasn't for him, with all the technical expertise and coordination of everyone. And really, it's really thanks to Nathan that we have been able to do these Zooms and so much more that happens at DFAC. He is behind. But honestly, for us, look, we get to work with, we're the luckiest people in the world to work with you guys and show beautiful, intriguing art and, feel that this work is important work. And what a privilege.
And we could never forget, our leadership in our board and our donors and all of the people who give us the latitude and trust in our abilities and silliness and spontaneity to, create a place that people want to come to and express themselves. So
yes.
Well, there's such a gorgeous sense of balance and variety and unity and harmony in your arrangements that it just makes us look forward to, oh boy, I can't wait to see what's next. So thank you for giving us things to look forward to.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, you bet.
We're talking about exhibits and about Kathy and Nathan and the other people who help. I used to do all that stuff, and I tried my best to do it as perfectly as I could, the way I knew how to do it. And I just have to congratulate all of you and commend you on the work that has been done in the exhibits since I left a long time ago. You're doing a spectacular job. They're far more perfect than they ever were.
Oh,
You're talking about composition. They're really artworks in themselves, but you have to let the work speak first. Down to the lighting. You overlight something, you've blown it. If people look up and say, wow, look at the lights. You guys know, you guys are really good. So commendation.
Yeah, thank you. And really at the heart of it all is, and the privilege of it all is community. I mean, to me, that is the great gift and reward, is being connected with such a beautiful community.